Hi, everybody, and welcome to another Friday on Moohead Radio. We have two guests with us today. We've got Bronk in England, merry old England. And there he is. He's just as excited as he always
I'm
is.
even worse today.
He's congested. He has a cold.
Yeah, I feel sorry for him. Yeah.
Michelle is sitting on 6 pillows. If she looks taller, it's not that. It's that, her colon is fucked up. And me, Mr. Moohead, I just had a great massage and my IBS is acting up. So we are the holy trinity of illness today, but we're here for you.
For your pleasure.
So, I mean, just as long as you guys understand the sacrifice.
Oh, great sacrifice. I mean, you should see how much we get paid for this.
Oh, no. It sounds like Bronk's audio is fucked up. Is yours too, Michelle?
No, I think it's just Bronk.
Yeah, it could just be me.
Yeah,
I hear him all wonky.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, today we start out the show talking 22. If you've never seen Lost in America by God, why am I forgetting Albert Brooks? Lost in America. His wife becomes a degenerate gambler, and 22 is the number she's stuck on the roulette wheel, and she sits there going 22, and that's where we are right now with the Cleveland Indians.
You know what I was thinking about with last night with that number was in A League of Their Own when the two guys fall in love with Doris Murphy, which is Rosie O'Donnell's character, and they're in the stands and they're like 22, and they're calling over 22. That's all I could remember. And they're trying to give her candy and flowers, and Madonna's like, take them.
Well, no men fall in love with Rosie O'Donnell. So right there, that's a fantasy. That's a fantasy movie. There's nothing based in reality. A league of her own. Not that I have really anything against Rosie O'Donnell, except that she's fat, she's ugly, she has a big mouth, she's foul-mouthed, and I think that she's judgmental. But besides that, I think she's really okay.
She thinks highly of you, though.
Hey, Bronk, why don't you zip out and come back in, because that'll correct the audio problem, because we know it only gets worse from here, and it's not your congestion either. So no excuses. And we're also going to pick all the NFL games right here on Moohead Radio. So I know I'm going to give the microphone to Michelle, because the Indians, I certainly know that Michelle is excited. So you said there was one thing that really excited you about this last night's win. What was that one thing?
No, I said that I was excited about the streak because we actually get to discuss it today, and I don't have to twist your arm or come up with a reason for you to bring up the Indians, and you actually bringing them up first, and I'm so excited. Well, it's a football Friday, and we get to talk about the Indians in September. That's exciting to me.
You know,
they're my babies.
I'll tell you something that I'm noticing, and it has nothing to do with a 22-game winning streak. It has nothing to do with like the fantastic pitching they're getting, and it has nothing to do with the timely hitting. I mean, the things that you're going to hear about on every other sports talk program that they'll focus in on, there is something that I'm noticing.
What's that?
That is in stark contrast to the beginning of the year.
What?
You look at in the beginning of the game yesterday against Junis, they were just pounding the ball into the dirt. They were hitting nothing but ground balls and outs at that. But look how hard they're running down the first baseline. I don't know if this is because of Bradley Zimmer. I don't know if it's because of Jose Ramirez. But I mean, if you remember early in the year, there were people who were admonished for not running hard down the first baseline, and balls that are clearly easy outs. I mean, we've actually seen Carlos Santana beat a ball out to first base. Yeah. We saw, Zimmer end his season trying to and doing it a few times before he got hurt.
Yes. It's not the first time he hasn't used his brain running to first base, unfortunately. And
then we see Jose Ramirez, who is taking the extra base every chance he gets, whether it's scampering home from third base, whether it's taking the extra base on the extending the doubles, stealing third base. I'm just noticing a lot more effort just in general. And the other good things happen. And I think that, momentum has something to do with it. Last night's game, I mean, it was over.
Yeah.
I mean, And not that I'm afraid of Herrera particularly because we bombed him the last time we'd faced him, but when you get down behind in the count with 2 strikes and 2 outs in the 9th inning to a guy who throws 97, 98 miles an hour, the odds of catching up to a high fastball are negligible, and it had happened. And I mean, it was unreal.
I had actually gone through the stages of grief in that happening. I thought, okay, this is it. I was bargaining. I was in denial. I was accepting the fact. I thought, okay, well, maybe this is making his moment. I was really excited to see him get a chance to pinch hit. I thought, hey, this will be his big come up where he gets this big moment and he gets to win the game for the Indians. Yeah. And he wasn't able to deliver, and it really bummed me out. And that's when I went, okay, maybe
they walked him. They walked him to face Gomes. What does that tell you? They walked a 21-year-old from Double-A to face Gomes.
And he was out on a fielder's choice. There was nothing they could do. I mean, they got lucky that they didn't turn the double play to end the inning on that hit alone. They got very lucky because that game should have been over with that one single swing of the bat. And so at that moment, I was like, okay, all good things come to an end. You know, everything was great up until this point. How can I be mad? Like, I was literally going through all of these things in my head, and Junior's sitting here going, how can it can't be over? It's not over. It can't be over. I'm like, hey, you know what? Shit happens, man. Like, get used to it. You're a Cleveland fan. You're a Browns fan. Like, you should know things happen, and it doesn't always pan out the way that you want it to. And when Frankie hit that drive, and it hit the wall and bounced down, and we're like, oh, man, they're coming back, you know? And it tied the game up, and that was the moment when it was like, you know what? These guys aren't just lucky. It's not just scoring 1 or 2 runs in the first inning and then being able to hold on to that lead for the rest of the game because of defense or pitching, because, you know, there was a meatball or an error or something else that you could throw out there and say, well, they got lucky. They shouldn't have won that game. No, they're really that good. They really are that good. And it is so exciting to watch this team. And last night was the first time in a really long time that I felt that magic feeling again.
Well, I'll tell you what the magic feeling is. Why am I feeding back now?
Oh, what happened?
I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden I started hearing myself again. You know, here's the deal. I mean, Gordon for the Royals has turned out to be like the absolute nightmare re-signing. I mean, he's not hitting the ball, and he's usually a very good left fielder. But that last ball that Lindor hit in the 9th inning, like a team that is desperate for a win, he went out full bore. And by going out full bore, he created a carom off the wall, in essence, with nobody behind him that would have scored anybody from first base. I mean, I thought that the whole deal was you're trying to protect the lead in the 9th inning, and if a guy hits one off the wall, if he fields that ball clearly off the wall, they can prevent the guy from scoring from first, because that left field is the shortest field, basically, that there is. If you cleanly field it off the wall, just like the Green Monster, and you throw the ball in and hit your cutoff man, it's very hard for the Indians to score. Instead, he sold out, didn't get off the ground. He looks like a player who shot to me, because I've watched him play for so many years when the Royals were a better baseball team. And, you know, Dayton Moore is going to rue the day that he decided to keep these players around and get nothing for them, because now there's no trade value for a guy hitting 207, for Christ's sake, whose skills have left him. And everything seems to be happening to Cleveland's advantage. When Ramirez hit that line drive, I knew he was going to turn it into 2.
You did not. Nobody knew that he was.
Yes, I did. No, I knew it. I said the second I saw that ball rolling out in the right center field, I yelled to Lisa, he's going for second base. That was before they showed him rounding. The only person, in my estimation, who didn't know was Kane in center field, who loped to the ball and took that extra step. And that extra little crow's hop step that he took was the difference between, because the ball, had he hustled to the ball, he would have easily beaten Ramirez to the back. He ended up throwing the ball wide as it was, and it was still a bang-bang play, even though he threw the ball on the third base side and the left field side of second base. It was still a bang-bang play. for some reason, he wasn't convinced that, and yet we've been watching Ramirez take the extra base the whole damn year. I mean, he's got more doubles than anybody in the league for a reason. It's not just that he hits them in the gaps to the wall. It's that he's converting singles into doubles. And, I'm sitting there looking at this going, wow. I mean, you look at this game like a little winding road, and it's like, how did the Royals lose this game? And they had every opportunity to win, and the Indians seemed willing to give them the game. Bases loaded, 1 out, back-to-back foul pop-ups. I mean, what the hell is that? I mean, it looked like the mojo was gone. The air was out, the wind out of the sails, and they still found a way to lose that game. And, somebody was asking me, what do you really think of the Indians' win streak compared to the New York Giants in 1916? And it's like, well, in 1916, it was a different game. I don't compare those two things. But what I will say about any 22-game win streak is that, A, if you saw one in your lifetime, then you're Bill Masterson and you're old as fuck. And so nobody's seen that. And it takes unique circumstances. And I really think the singular biggest factor is that the Chicago White Sox, the Detroit Tigers sold off all their assets. And the way the league schedule is set up, we play against our divisional foes in the last month of the season. And we are fortunate in the sense it's not like we're running into any teams that are blazing hot. I mean, the reason the Twins are still at the top of the wild card race is that they're playing the same teams we are. Basically, they did have an NL series against the Padres, but honestly, they've been beating up on the White Sox and beating up on the Royals, and everybody's beating up on the White Sox and the Royals. And I saw the White Sox beat the Tigers 17-7, a fucking football score.
And the White Sox are horrible.
Oh,
terrible.
Well, the Tigers have given up.
That's the thing. I mean, the Indians look like they're giving a lot more effort because the other teams are tanking. That's part of the thing that's going on in this streak. When you beat teams 10-0 and 12-0 and 7-0, and even they swept the Yankees. The Yankees gave up in that doubleheader in the next game afterwards. So the Indians have broken these teams' will. That's
well. What I think is the Indians have a wide open road in the Central for years to come because these teams have given away or aged out. Miguel Cabrera, the Indians killer, I have never seen him quit before.
Oh, he definitely quit.
Flat out gave up. I mean, he's at the point now, he's swinging at bad pitches. He doesn't give a fuck. He's just like, whatever. All of his mates are gone. The guys who set him up to hit successfully at the top of their lineup are gone, and Kinsler is washed up. His range at second base is washed up. He's not the hitter that he once was.
Mr. Kipnis now.
Yeah, right. We'll see about that.
That's why they've been lashing out. I mean, they're like the little kid that can't catch a break, and they don't know how to act right, and so they're lashing out, by throwing at teams or throwing punches or whatever it is. They're frustrated, and they think that they could be a lot better than they are, and so that's why they're lashing out. And I actually find it utterly hilarious. Because
they're the trolls of the Central Division now, basically.
Great. I mean, they have to release a statement today on whether or not they threw at an umpire. I mean, get the hell out of here. Like, just take your losses and settle down and ride out the rest of the season and just chill out. Like, just let it go. You're not going anywhere. Just relax,
Amsterdam's to the chat room, and he's bringing up the same point I brought up. This is the second cowardly play that Abraham Almonte has made in the outfield, protecting himself as opposed to going in and catching a goddamn ball that's easily catchable, that is not that close to the fucking wall. And to me, Almonte cannot make this roster postseason. He isn't a good enough hitter to overcome his defensive liabilities, but the real problem is there are men running through walls for this team, and twice now in what were important games, Almonte just chose to just pussy out because he can feel the wall coming and he is not willing to take that on. And that was the most important catch of the game. That's the record win streak on the line, and you see guys busting their ass, and I just don't feel good about him in the outfield.
Oh, I agree. I don't feel good about Chisenhall and Naquin out there either. I don't think they're particularly good. They cost the World Series, if you ask me.
By the way, your audio is still all frogged out, man. I don't know what's going on. I mean, try to wait.
Maybe I'll just hang up because I don't have
no. Go 60 seconds and jump back. It has worked in the past. I don't know why. It could be transatlantic stuff.
Oh, right. All right.
I wonder if it's his connection, if he's got a little jack like mine that has to just get twisted a little bit.
Usually this is on YouTube. We've discovered that this does this, and sometimes just stopping and starting will get a different routing in. You feel differently about Almonte than I do?
I don't know. I don't feel as strongly about him in the outfield as you do, I guess, because I feel like he's not the worst option out there.
Who is the worst?
The one that they're expecting to put out in a couple days.
Yeah, well,
22.
Yeah. I don't understand. I don't understand why Kipnis in center field, the most important outfield position where you need to have the best range. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. And, they're saying it's going to happen Sunday. The only thing that we can hope is that the streak ends by the time.
No, don't say that.
By the time that happens.
I'd rather see Gonzalez out there or Allen or Jackson. I mean, you've got
Jackson or
Chisenhall. You've got so many other guys that you can put out there.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, the last thing you want to do is to see this win streak go down the shitter because Jason Kipnis is out in center field.
I want Kipnis off the team, man.
Well, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because Tito's man crushed on him, as Moo would say. Right now that's his crafty veteran. That's his club.
I've never rated him anyway,
I mean, what's amazing to me is that if you really look at what the events are that have surrounded the 22-game win streak, there are a number of things that kind of coalesce all at the same point in time. Trevor Bauer starting to pitch. Okay? I mean, and being consistent. That's one of them. Even Tomlin, believe it or not, coming back off the DL and not losing games, even though he's never really dominant, he's giving us 6 innings and not taking us out of games. Another thing was the arrival of Yandy Diaz, who I was screaming about not playing earlier in the season because Kipnis was manning second base, was perpetually injured and had diminished range and wasn't hitting the ball. Now, Yandy Diaz is going to have a day of reckoning because he's got to be able to do more than just hit hard ground balls through the infield. I mean, at some point in time, he's got to show a little bit more in terms of power or, gap to gap kind of ability that we haven't seen from him yet. But the thing is, with the exception of the one errant throw he made, we haven't seen a total eclipse of our defense at third base. And the other thing that's interesting is instead of all of this silly utility infielder shit, now we suddenly have Urshela playing both third base and shortstop as a utility infielder. And suddenly that is making sense because when he's on the field, the defense is just that much sharper. The turn at second base, as far as the double play from Lindor to Ramirez to Santana, is so much quicker, snappier than with Kipnis on the field that, the other thing that has really come together in that period of time is the defense. I mean, we're not making the kind of foolish errors that we were making earlier in the season. And, you start looking at, and the funny thing is, it's like they manned up when Andrew Miller went away. And the other thing is like a bullpen that's consisting of Nick Goody and Otero, and that Shaw has actually come out and pitched several good games, which wasn't happening early in the year. All these things are kind of coming together at once, and now Andrew Miller is back. And there's only one thing I want to warn Indians fans about regarding Andrew Miller is there is something more wrong with his knee than tendonitis. Okay? Not probably, definitely, because Miller himself said it is not tendonitis per se, but there is currently no plan on operating on this knee after the season. Now, why would he say that if it wasn't an option? I mean, if you had nothing wrong but tendonitis, you wouldn't even bring up the word operating. But he said it's not tendonitis per se, and I'm wondering if he has loose bodies in his knee, and if that soreness is agitated by those loose bodies, which is torn cartilage in the knee. They said on the broadcast it wasn't the fastball. It's the slider, because he plants his leg when he throws the slider as hard as he does, and that is what strains the knee. In his appearance, I didn't expect him to be sharp in yesterday's game, but he was not swing and miss Andrew Miller. They were all making contact with the ball against him, and his slider was only registering 86 miles an hour. So I'm just warning Indians fans, much like I'm warning them about Isaiah Thomas. When there is an unspoken truth, there is something that is not completely as reported. This, and the fact that he had to do 2 stints on the DL and that they kept him there for a long time, and now they're more concerned with how many batters Andrew Miller is going to face and how many pitches he's going to throw, and that he's going to make 6 or 7 appearances before the playoffs begin. My belief is that the friction that's caused by loose bodies in the knee will limit the duration of his appearances, and that they're hoping to be able to get an Andrew Miller who can make it through 2 outs or 3 outs in an inning and pull him before swelling and range of motion issues and discomfort aggravate him. Just a guess.
I don't think you're too far off, because when he first went down, remember, we thought that he blew out his elbow because of the way that he was throwing, and it looked really funky, the way that he was trying to wrap it up there before they pulled him that last game before he went on the DL. He's a big guy. He's very tall. He's got a lot. He's mostly legs. Okay. So when he's throwing hard, he's landing hard, and you didn't see him throwing as hard as he's used to. I think it's a mistake to bring him back and to work him, not because of a streak. It has nothing to do with a silly streak. I think it's the same premise that we had with Brantley, where they bring him back too soon and he ends up aggravating himself worse. Andrew Miller was observed and looked at by Cavaliers doctors. So you're looking at something that isn't necessarily common in baseball players.
Right.
Whether that's something because of his size, because of the way that he lands, because he's just so fucking tall, and maybe there's so much pressure being put on his joints and his cartilage and his muscles, his tendons. It could be really anything. I mean, they're not going to tell us what it really, really is. That they're not going to. Not
until he gets the goddamn arthroscopic surgery after the season.
It'll be the end of October, and he's going to go in and get that knee cleaned out, and then they're going to find out what it is. And then, you know what? Heaven forbid you have another Nick Swisher on your hands.
Well, I don't believe that's necessarily the case, because there's no reason. It's not
necessarily his fault. It's like Swisher was out of shape. Yeah, like he kind of screwed himself. But when you have so much damage done that you can't recover, there's no point in pushing yourself, and then your team suffers, and then you suffer, and then your body's never going to be the same. You and I both know if you push yourself when you're hurting or when you're physically incapable of doing something, you risk permanent damage, and that's irreversible.
Yeah, I'm not happy to see him out there if he's going to throw an 86-mile-an-hour slider and it's going to hurt him every time he throws it. That's not good.
And what are you do? You're going to go out there and you're going to throw meatballs just to say, oh, Andrew Miller got out in the game.
And now, Bronk, they're saying that they've missed the real Michael Brantley injury, that all this time they're saying that he is still unable to run, and now he's going back in for further observation, and that they may have missed something, so that this whole idea of it just being an ankle sprain or whatever, no, that is down the shitter. There's something seriously wrong, and I'll tell you something else. When Chisenhall pulled up at second base and they tagged him out, and they said, well, he had tightness in his calf. He's running funny. He has not recovered from what they say is a pulled muscle, which he's
not right at all.
Yeah, I mean, and that should have healed by now. So there's, when I see things, like that, and then when I saw the play in Chisenhall just pull up at second base and allow himself basically to get tagged out, and then he was gone the next inning, it's like, tightness my ass. He can't run. And, misdiagnoses cost players entire seasons, and the back half of Chisenhall's season has been lost. So it's, there's always things to worry about. Tonight we have, it's going to be Trevor Bauer trying to get the next win, and we'll see. It's one game at a time. Who's going to be the hero? Who knows? But the other thing that is really encouraging to me is as much as Michael Brantley is a really good player, and when he's healthy, that Jason Kipnis was a solid player. The one thing that hurt the Indians more than anything else in years past is that they would have to bring in a Jason Giambi to be a leader.
Yeah.
We did not
Mike Napoli fucking party in Napoli last year.
Right. You had to have a leader. Well, now Lindor and Ramirez and the young guys are beating the drum. They're comfortable. They're up at the big league level. And these are the leaders of our team. And that's why, without Kipnis, without Brantley, this team is fiery. They're taking the extra bases. They're playing like men who have never been injured before. Even Zimmer, it was like a shot of adrenaline when he came up.
Oh, I love Zimmer, my favorite player.
Yeah, I mean, a great defensive center fielder. But, there was the feeling that these guys would literally run through a brick wall for you. And that's what disappoints me about Almonte. He's so much in the past because he doesn't fit in with the current modus operandi, which is, there is real fire now. And we found the guys who are leading the team. And now the more laconic older guys like Carlos Santana it's more palatable dealing with somebody who was never a team leader and was never going to be a team leader. It makes a really good citizen like Jay Bruce a wonderful, acquisition by the Indians, because it was like when they interviewed him after the game, he got that redemption, hit in the corner that won the game, but he couldn't stop talking about Ramirez.
Yeah, and he didn't come in to be the leader of the team. He didn't come in to be Mike Napoli or Jason Giambi, Bruce,
No, he's
just came in to be another player.
Like he's 50 years old. He's a young
Exactly.
dude.
The point I want to make about the Indians that you guys have not mentioned about this streak is that you've got 3 guys that are now performing when the Indians have players in scoring position that never used to do that. And that's Gomes, Perez, and Santana. Now, these guys are actually getting timely hits, and the catching spot's actually hitting for a change, so that you don't have these rally killing guys hitting into double plays or popping out with 2 outs like they used to do all at the beginning of the year from April to July.
Well, and to add to that point, one of the biggest problems that I had early on with the Indians is that, there were a lot of swings and misses at bad pitches, a lot of pressing with men in scoring position, and that type of thing. But what we have now, some of the guys who are playing put the bat on the ball more frequently. And, there is something good to be said when you have a guy like Diaz who does not swing at bad pitches and is willing to take the walk. And sometimes he's hitting third behind Encarnacion, and just getting on base gives that chance for a crooked number with one swing of the bat. Ramirez is always a guy who gets his bat on the ball. Lindor has remembered that he's a line drive hitter. He's getting his bat on the ball. So now at the top of the lineup, we're getting a lot of table setting, and that's giving opportunities to Encarnacion, to Jay Bruce, and to Carlos Santana. But even in the bottom of the lineup now, if you have Ajax playing, or, he's getting his bat on the ball and getting on base, you start looking at the on-base percentage of these players, and it's higher. I don't expect Roberto Perez to continue hitting in the clutch. I think that Gomes, this is what you're going to see from Gomes. He's the best throw-out catcher in the league. He throws out 48% of the runners who try to steal. He's got a cannon for an arm. He can hit, in a healthy year, 15 home runs, and he can drive in, really, if he's having 60 to 65 runs, and he's a good defensive catcher, and he's not going to hit more than a 230, 240. That's kind of what he is. Roberto Perez is a guy who obviously can stomach Bauer, and Bauer can stomach him, and so he's become a reliable game caller for some of the pitchers to steady them down. And anything you get out of him offensively is a bonus. And I think that, but the guy was hitting 160 through, basically 3/4 of the year. And, I'm not saying he's a 160 hitter, but he's a Mendoza line guy. In the minor leagues, he had one year where he hit 300, and it was a complete aberration. The rest of the time, he was, he was not a hitter in the minor leagues either. But, getting on base, they talk about, you got to get the big hit. Well, you got to have men on base to get the big hit. And more of our guys are actually getting the bat on the ball and doing it in a way they're going opposite field. I mean, look at Naquin to start that whole thing, going oppo, with 2 strikes on him. I mean,
there's another one you can stick out in center field if you don't like Almonte.
Yeah. Naquin's not that good out there.
He's got quicker legs than Almonte does.
No.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is that guys are at least performing to what the expectation is. I mean, I don't want to see Naquin believing that the power surge he had last year as a rookie was anything other than teams not knowing how to pitch him and throwing into his, his lightning zone, his nitro zone by mistake. They figured out what he can't hit. Now it's not pull the ball, it's get on base. And we're seeing more of that, we're seeing more guys playing according to their skill and talent. Well, we got to pick the games, don't we?
Do we?
Yes.
I picked Houston last night, believe it or not.
So did I.
Well, Zampesi's been fired by the Bengals, their offensive coordinator, 2 games into this season and gone. Well,
bold prediction.
Bold
prediction. I predict the Browns will finish ahead of the Bengals in the division.
Well, it's easy to sit back and see the decline of the Bengals, 6-win team last year, and it's all gone to hell. It makes you wonder about Marv Lewis. I mean, he's a defensive coach, has been a defensive coach through his career, and he had Hugh Jackson in Cincinnati. And once he lost his offensive coordinator, Andy Dalton, and the team has never been the same. And Zampesi was an old school guy, and it just didn't work out. The guy that have brought in, he's been roving around the league with a bunch of teams, Washington, Philadelphia. I think there are a couple of teams and stops that he's had. The Bengals right now look like they're in disarray, and it's not that the Texans look any better. Believe me, I mean, when you basically bench your quarterback in game 2, it makes you wonder, what was the point? Just go ahead and let Deshaun start the season, let Watson start the season. What was this, a token we're going to give you one game to prove yourself, Tom Savage? I mean, it's kind of foolishness. At least the Browns had the courage to start the damn rookie,
Courage. That's a cute word for it.
Well, I mean, everybody knew that Tom Savage wasn't the future.
Yeah.
And how bad would it have been had the Browns kept Osweiler and he would have started game 1, and it would have been an abject disaster.
Oh, wow. An
abject disaster. And then what would the team have said to justify the $16 million, starting that player? And then you have to anyway, it's the same thing that happened the one year to Charlie Fry, it seems to me. Didn't the Browns replace him after one game or some such thing? It's a blur to me, the Browns quarterback carousel. But I remember
traded him for like a 7th-round draft pick after in the middle of September.
Well, I remember a season where game 1, quarterback got one opportunity and was benched. Who was it?
Well, Jake Love got injured pretty quickly.
It may have been Whedon's backup.
It was.
I'm trying to remember who in the hell it was. Maybe in the chat room somebody can refresh my memory. But I just remember it was like after one game. And I think that's the worst thing you can do to a team is judge a player on 1 week and then just kind of, 86 them, I don't get it. But at any rate, yeah, the Bengals look bad. The second coming of Dwayne Bowe is in first place, tied with Ms. Michelle's Bay. Sundance is at 11. BB Brown's at 11. Major at 11. Big Lurker UK at 11. And then we go down to the 10s, and I'm at 9. And, Big Dog is at 10. Lance is at 10. Pure Rage is with me at 9. Ziffles is at 9. Even a pig, for Christ's sake, is doing as well as I am. Jameric at 8. Newman at 8. Poor Michelle at 7.
I am so bad at this. I swear it's terrible.
Well, I'm at 10, but I won't identify myself.
Okay, don't.
Yes.
Yeah, and Wiley Fox at 0-16 because he's a quitter. And so there you have that. Now we're going to go into the actual picks themselves. I picked Cincinnati to win. I couldn't imagine that at home they could do it again, and they did it again. So another one wrong for Mr. Moohead. Next is the Indianapolis Colts at home, and it's an organization in turmoil because a lot being written about Andrew Luck being unhappy there. Tolzien's incredibly bad first week start. Arizona's going to Indianapolis. What do you think?
Arizona easy win.
Michelle?
I don't know. There is a lot surrounding Indianapolis right now, and I think that they might be a little bit out to prove something, especially being at home. So I'm going to go with the underdogs. I picked them last week and they blew it, but I'm going to try again this week, and I'm going to go with Indianapolis.
Big mistake. It's going to be a big win.
Arizona. I'm going with Arizona. Next, we have Philadelphia at Kansas City. Yahoo Nation says an 8% chance for for Philadelphia, but Carson Wentz was very good in week 1, throwing for over 300 yards, and Kansas City may be getting pumped a little high. I don't think 92 to 8% necessarily reflects reality in this. Do you think Philadelphia can go to Kansas City and win, Bronk?
Fuck no. Carson Wentz.
Meh. You said meh. All right.
Kansas City wins.
All right, Michelle, you're going to go with Philadelphia just to go. What the hell? When I see somebody going out on a limb, I'm going to push them out.
No,
I
hate Philadelphia. I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
And I mean, the thing I don't understand about Philadelphia is how they can be called the cheese steak capital of the world when they put Cheese Whiz on a sandwich. But be that as it may, I'm going with Kansas City, but for a different reason, because Kansas City is just really a better football team. Next, we have New England at New Orleans. And, New England just doesn't lose 2 games in a row. It doesn't happen. Will it happen?
You never know. Anything's possible, but no, not this week.
Yeah, I'm with New England winning, and although I would love to see Brady start forgetting where he put his car keys. Next, that's wrong on so many levels. Next, we have Minnesota at Pittsburgh. Now, this is interesting because Tony the Calf is really on a sugar high because the Twins, who by all accounts are going to end up getting into the one-day playoff, which is really great.
So we could beat the fuck out of them.
But honestly, give credit to the Twins. They have done more with less. They've done more with less. But Tony was basically after week 1 saying, we are the Vikings. If we play again like we just played against the Saints, we could go all the way, and it's like now the word out of Minnesota, MRIs on Sam Bradford's knee. It's the same knee with the 2 ACL reconstructs in 2013 and 2014, swelling and discomfort. And now all of a sudden, they say he's going to play. But you tell the Pittsburgh Steelers that the guy's got a bad knee, and what do you think's going to happen to Sam Bradford?
Exactly.
I mean,
he's going to be on a cart within 7 minutes of the game starting.
Fucking meat wagon.
Big win for the Steelers.
Fines. I don't think that's going to stop him one bit. You're not suspending him. You're not holding him back. You're just firing him up more. This is a dirty team that is out for blood. It doesn't matter who they're playing. It's not like they're going to go hard on us and soft on everybody else because we're the rivals. It doesn't work that way. They're just a dirty fucking team. Steelers, they know that there's a weakness. They're going to go after it hard.
Have you ever had a moment where you had a retro moment that gives away your age completely?
Oh, yeah.
Every day, man.
Well, I had one in the car. Mrs. Moo. No, I forgot I was driving. Yeah, no.
Mrs. Moo doing what to you in the car?
Mrs. Moo and I were coming back from riding bikes, and I'm coming down. There's an intersection where we're getting back on US 25, which is a busy road, but there's a ambulance that's coming up behind, and they make the most god awful racket now. That whatever that siren is that they have at waka waka waka. I mean, it's horrible. I mean, it makes you panic. But I see this thing coming in my rear view mirror, and it's making these noises, and it was an incredibly, what's the word I'm looking for? Stereotyped looking ambulance, right? And I turned to Mrs. Moo and I said, fuck, I thought I was playing Turbo. Now, that won't mean anything to anybody who wasn't a gamer back in the days of the early consoles, like the ColecoVision back in the early 80s. You don't know what Turbo is, do you, Michelle?
Mm-hmm. My parents had a Coleco and an Atari. We finally got Nintendo, and that's the only thing I ever ended up having in my life.
Well, you had herpes once, but that doesn't count.
That's a horrible thing to say.
Still would do. Still right. Would have it as well.
Well, don't feel bad.
It never goes away, does it?
No,
yeah. No, I bleed from my ass. I have asteroids, so yeah. Yeah, but Turbo, there was this goddamn ambulance in the game, and it would make this horrible racket, and it looked just like the fucking ambulance in Turbo. And I was, oh well, it was a retro moment. I'm picking Pittsburgh to beat Minnesota. Chicago at Tampa Bay. I don't think anybody takes Chicago seriously. Not that they take Tampa Bay all that seriously, but Jameis Winston is an improved quarterback. Anybody picking Chicago here?
Yeah, I am, because I hate Tampa Bay. I just think Chicago's due. They'll win one game every 4 weeks, and this would be their game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the people in Tampa Bay have seen a destructive force that's far greater than the Buccaneers.
Again, if Jameis Winston gets hurt, then this team is completely
screwed.
The toilet.
They're screwed, absolutely. Michelle, you're going with Tampa Bay, I take it?
Yeah.
Okay. Buffalo at Carolina. I mean, Buffalo really looks bad. I think Buffalo fans are going to look back fondly at the Rex Ryan days, which will tell you everything that you really need to know about Buffalo. And Carolina is just a better football team. I'm picking Carolina.
Yeah. Did you hear Rex Ryan the other day on ESPN doing Monday Night Football? Is that Rex?
Who, Rex Ryan?
Yeah.
They put a picture of a foot on the screen, and he started like
all excited,
jerking off. You know, it's just crazy.
It was Rex and Beth Mowins. Okay, so it's like match made in hell to begin with, because her voice just it makes my eardrums bleed just listening to her talk. But Ryan was just saying the most dumbass, Madden shit you've ever heard in your life. I mean, it was just so terrible. I couldn't watch it. It was giving me a headache, but my cousin kept texting me all the stupid shit that he kept saying. And it was bad. And then, of course, the sideline reporter that everybody was making fun of. Give him a break. And it's like, well, maybe.
Like Chachi on the sidelines.
But I know. But I mean, geez, the environment that the president of the United States has set in this country. I mean,
here we go.
Rex Ryan literally said, "Some days you're the dog, some days you're the hydrant." I mean, this is the kind of analysis and color commentary that they put on ESPN, but they want to yell at Jamel. But whatever.
We could do better than that.
You know something? And let me be honest about this. As a broadcaster, you don't put somebody green like that on national television and then blame him. I mean,
yeah, you're exactly right. You blame the manager on that.
The little sideline guy that was getting all the attention.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good-looking boy, right? He's a Hispanic guy. He's good-looking, but he was not ready for the moment. I mean, yeah, he definitely choked. But not in a way that was like mystifying, but kind of in a rah-rah, embarrassing way. Kind of like what when Bush ran for the presidency and Quayle made the first appearance at the rally, and he looked like a child. I mean, that's what this was. It was like, you know, and the coach is having the time of his life, you know, and it's like, oh my God, you know, he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. And they knew that, God damn it. These people, they test people, and they know better than to put him on.
There would have been a rehearsal for him, surely. You know,
but let's get mad at an Asian dude named Robert Lee, thinking that he's going to trigger everybody into getting all excited and angry about his fucking name. Like he's some kind of Confederate.
Look, here's the thing I don't understand about the sideline reporter. You go to him once for 28 seconds, and he is not up to the task. Somebody pulled the plug on the young man and made sure they did not go back to the sidelines after that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so he was not seen on camera or heard from again. It's like, you know, how is that? You know, so you've humiliated him and you never gave him a chance to redeem himself. And now he's left to defend himself against a pack of wolves. It's a bad precedent. We got to move on and pick more games because I don't want to miss the Indians. We got Tennessee at Jacksonville. Jacksonville was a surprise winner in week 1. And, this is not a game of the strong. Who do you like, Tennessee or Jacksonville, Bronk?
I like the London Jaguars. I think they're going to win this one.
Okay. Michelle?
I'm going to go with Tennessee just over a slight edge. I think it's...
Tennessee. Yeah, me too. That's right, Chumley. Going for Tennessee.
Yeah, I think I'm ahead of both of you in the pick and league, though. So
I got nothing to lose at this point. But Jacksonville winning 2 in a row. God Almighty, the sun might not rise if that happens.
That's going to happen.
We have Oakland and the Jets. This shouldn't take much thought.
Jets are horrible. Raiders are the best team in the West.
Yeah, and Carr's going to have a field day. You feel the same way, Michelle?
Yeah, as much as I don't like them, and I don't know if it's just being here and that's their rival, and it agitates me to see them, but they've improved so much over the last few years that there's no chance the Jets can beat them. So, yeah, I'm going with Oakland.
And then we have Miami at Los Angeles.
The Los Angeles Chargers.
The Los Angeles Superchargers.
I'm going with the Chargers because Miami just doesn't have much going for it. I think that the Chargers are going to win.
No, I'm picking Miami. There we go. We're different on a few things here.
Yeah, I'm going for broke.
You know what? It's not that I even root for them. I don't understand how people who live here can still root for them and say, "Oh, that's my team. I follow the team, not the city." When my team left us in the middle of the night, you know what? They were fucking dead to me.
Yeah, California's different from Ohio, though.
It is. You know, it's like, oh, well, they didn't change the logo. They just changed the city. They'll be back, so whatever. But, yeah. Fuck it. I'll pick the Chargers this week.
All right. Dallas at Denver. I'm going with Dallas.
I also am going with Dallas.
Damn, I'm going with Denver.
There you go. I mean, and I wouldn't argue with it. Again, I'm going to end up with one of the worst records this year, but I don't care.
One of us is going to look really stupid come Monday afternoon. But anyway,
I'm already stupid. It makes no difference. Washington at the LA Rams. Jared Goff off to a really good start, and they're saying that maybe the stability settling in with that organization is going to help that young man. Washington, this is we're on the Kirk Cousins carousel. Each time he goes around, he either grabs a brass ring and throws for 320 yards, or he completely misses the brass ring. Who knows? I'm going absolutely stupid and picking Washington.
Washington is about to be a dumpster fire, and I'm here for every second of it. I'm going with the Rams.
I'm going with the Rams as well.
And I'll probably change my mind before Sunday.
Going straight in the can, man.
San Francisco is going to lose to Seattle. We all agree on that.
Yeah,
right?
we do agree on that one.
And Atlanta, the home team, playing Green Bay. I am picking Green Bay to win that game.
It's a tough game. I've got Atlanta, but I might change my mind.
Yeah, Atlanta's an alternating year, good, bad, good, bad.
Never know with it. I mean, as long as their offensive line stays as good as they were last year, then Atlanta will be coming out of the NFC. But if not, who knows?
Then you have the 50-50 game on Yahoo Nation, which is Detroit at the Giants. You got Eli Manning, who you wonder how much is left in the tank. And then you've got Detroit, who, well, is not exactly a road dog, successful road dog. How do you see this game, Bronk?
I think the Giants were absolutely horrible in that preseason game they played against the Browns. They were, they didn't even get a touchdown. I think the Giants are on the downward spiral. They're the most overrated team in the league. Giants are going to do big this year. They'll be lucky to win 4 games.
All right, so you're picking Detroit.
Yeah, picking Detroit.
Michelle?
I don't think that you can judge a preseason game against the Browns as how a team is going to pan out for the rest of the year. I think it's a toss-up for a reason, and I'm going with the New York Football Giants.
I'm going with the Giants also, so that you know that I'm picking the Giants to win that game 24-20 over Detroit. I'm also picking Green Bay 27-24 over Atlanta. Who is going to score the most points this week? I think Oakland will score the most.
I agree with that.
And who will score the fewest points? Indianapolis.
I picked Cincinnati on that one. I'm looking good.
You're looking good, partner.
I'm looking good on that one.
Yep. We got one more game here in front of us, and that's our beloved Cleveland Browns going to Baltimore. This is the first road game that Deshaun Kaiser is going to have to deal with. The Browns may be better than the Bengals that the Ravens defeated in Week 1, but Baltimore sacked Andy Dalton 5 times, and they're likely to sack Kaiser as many times. Yep. The difference is that Baltimore ran the ball down the Bengals' throats. The question is the Browns' defensive line a phantom based on their first week, or are they going to be able to stop the running game and force a slightly less than perfect Joe Flacco to have to win through the air? I don't think Cleveland has enough guns offensively to pull this game off on the road. I'm picking Baltimore to win this game. And I want to say that it's going to be, a low-scoring game, but my feeling is mistakes will be made, and Baltimore will win this game 24-13.
I think it'll be a lot closer. I think Baltimore will win it on some fluke, fucking extra point miss or block punt or some god awful play with 30 seconds left in the game. I'm looking at it like 18-16 Baltimore.
Michelle?
Close game.
I think Gronk is delusional. I think that Cincinnati didn't put up much of a fight, but if they had, then they would have ran away with it a lot further. I think they ended up being generous by not going completely apeshit in garbage time against Cincinnati. I think the Browns are better than the Bengals at present moment, but I don't think it'll be enough. I'd like to see some improvements in the Browns. But as far as I'm concerned, integrity-wise, I'll never pick Baltimore to win a fucking thing. They can kiss my ass. So I'm going to pick the Browns because they're my motherfucking Browns.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I blame you. I have to make a pick on a fight. Canelo Alvarez is fighting Gennady Golovkin, Triple G, and that's going to be an interesting fight for people who are fight fans. Canelo and Golovkin weighed in at 160, but a massive body change by Canelo Alvarez, who has taken on a weightlifting regimen, if you want to look at it that way, or a supplement regimentation, or if you want to look further than that, a steroid.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks so ripped that it's not natural. I did see footage of him working out. He looked slow. I want to say this about fighters in general. Fighters who are muscle bound generally are not loose in the ring. They are slower. They don't end up hitting harder. And because they're tight and their muscles are tight, they don't take as good of a punch. Gennady Golovkin is a killer. He is a guy who hits hard. Canelo Alvarez is a guy who has fought at 154. He's a guy who started at 140 early on in his career. The fact that he's chosen to bulk up his body to this degree tells me that he has some doubts whether his strength can hold up to a natural 160-pound fighter. And I think everything that he's done is the wrong approach from the history of boxing. And there are very few. I mean, if you look at the history of fights, the successful champions, who are the muscle-bound guys? And you just won't find it. Even the best punchers around, were not, probably the most muscle-bound fighter that was successful was George Foreman.
Yeah, maybe Hagler as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Yeah, I considered Hagler to be a guy who was always just in tip-top shape. But this transformation, I think it's going to really hurt Alvarez, and I think Alvarez is going to get knocked out. And I think he's going to get knocked out because he wants to go inside because he's a shorter fighter, and he's going to absorb shots coming in that his body's not going to be able to handle. I'm looking for Golovkin inside 6 rounds to knock out Canelo Alvarez, who also is known to have stamina issues in his previous fights. So that's how I see that one going down.
I think that's on free TV here.
Oh, is it really? Well,
I think it is,
It's going to be, for as long as it lasts, it will be good. I mean, because you got 2 guys in there trying to take one another out. Canelo doesn't know any other way but to come forward and fight. And he's obviously boned up for, for a trench warfare thing. And Golovkin, well, I mean, his record speaks for itself. He is a seek and destroy guy. All right. We're going to go to the Indians now. 23 looms on the horizon. Let's let's cheer on the Indians and Trevor Bauer, and let's see if you know, part of me.
Big win for the Tribe today, I reckon.
Don't you think, like Houdini? You know, Houdini does the Great Escape, and you got to figure that if something malfunctioned in Houdini's escape act, and he got away with it, that the next night that he performed, he did it easily. And I have this feeling that the Indians, there may be a little exhale here because it came close to ending last night, and there may be a rejuvenation, and they may actually come out loose in this instance because it looked like the ghost was ascending. The Grim Reaper.
The Royals are done, man. I think psychologically.
If they can come out swinging and put up some early run support, Trevor will settle down immediately. And you know, when he settles in, he can just strike them out like maniac.
Well, with Bauer, it's that first inning. It's the first inning as far as his command. And if he can get out of the first inning, you know, without damage, then there's a better chance that he'll get a feel for his secondary pitches. As you know, and usually with Bauer, it's the third, fourth, fifth inning, around in there, that he really starts getting a feel for his secondary pitch, especially that curveball, which is really a weapon when he throws it for strikes. So, you know, we'll see. But I'm hoping that the Indians come out a little loose. And who is pitching, by the way, for the Royals tonight? Do we have their starter?
It is. Oh, I was just looking at it.
Think about Bauer. I mean, the last bad game I remember him having, it was out in West Coast when he gave up like 4 runs in the first inning to like 10 batters, and they finally had to yank him out of there. But he hasn't been. But that was like back in early July. So.
Yeah, I'm looking. Well, maybe I'll just get it here.
It's already got speed up. I think it's the.
Man, I'm not seeing who in the hell they're facing tonight. Do you see it, Michelle?
No.
That's odd because usually on Cleveland.com they'll show you what the starting. We're not getting that here. Wait, here we go. Starting lineups. Here we go. It's just further down the page. Go figure. And it is Jason Vargas, who is their best pitcher.
Oh, well, that's all right.
And he off-speed guy, off-speed lefty. And usually...
Off-speed lefty, oh, no.
The thing with Vargas is tough the first time through the lineup. If you're going to get him, second and third time is the time to get him. That's the history of Jason Vargas. But at 15-10, he is their best starting pitcher. So we'll see what happens.
It's going to be good. You'll be back for halftime and post-game.
Yep. Halftime and post-game shows on Sunday. And the last week's halftime show, or excuse me, post-game show, did 589 views. It's really an incredible number. And if the Browns win, we'll maintain momentum. But if it starts going the other direction, we know what happens. So it's fun. It's fun doing the halftime and post-game shows anyway. So it's a lot of fun for me. So we'll see you at halftime on Sunday. And also, if you're a regular Moohead Radio fan, back on Moohead Radio on Monday.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Moo.
And Bronk dies at the end of the show. Somebody killed Kenny. And thanks for tuning in, everybody, to this edition of Moohead Radio. God, he's just come back to life. Somebody gave him the goddamn breath of life. Would you take it out of him already? Mr. Congested Lungs. We'll be back again come halftime on Sunday. Go Browns, go Indians, and let's go for 23. See you on Sunday. Bye.